Alright, so let's start our Flex VPN. Before we go any further, we'll go and do a quick recap of what we did on Friday. Right? On Friday, what I had was something like this. I had a router here, right? Below the router, I had my internet connection, which I simulated as R2. To R2 was connected R3. This was my HQ, my headquarters. This was a client. But this is a normal site-to-site tunnel. Don't confuse this with hub and spoke or EasyVPN server. This is not a server who's giving out anything to a client. This is a hub, an HQ. It's a simple router, a site, which is creating a tunnel, but he does not know what the other public address on this side of the interface is. He has a public address. His public address is the subnet is 12.24, right? But he does not know this because this site is not up yet. Before this, when we did IKE v2, we did a normal SVTI to SVTI, right? We had a static here, a static here, a tunnel source, a tunnel source, a tunnel destination, and a tunnel destination. A tunnel was formed, and everything was perfect. But here, what is the difference? This side, I'm gonna keep it as open. Why? Because maybe tomorrow, another site comes up here for a site-to-site with me, which will be connected to the internet, right? And right now I don't know what that address is going to be, so I'm keeping this side open, so these people can come in and create a tunnel with me. So it's for that. How do I do it? This side will be my dynamic VTI, virtual tunnel interface, specified by what? Virtual template, which gives out virtual accesses. 1 virtual access, 2, and so on and so forth, right? One virtual access will be with this, one will be with this. So 2 different tunnels from the same interface, right? We did this last time. This guy, right? This was done last time. What we are going to be doing today is a step further. But before we go any further than that, I want to show you this again, plus something else. Last time when we configured it, we did not modify any IKE v2 policy. Which policy? Authorization policy. We did not modify this. Remember, where did we modify this last? What was the VPN we did this? We modified this policy in EasyVPN, where we specified a pool to be thrown down. We also specified an access list to be thrown down, to be pushed down. In this policy in EasyVPN, what did we specify? Again, a pool, the IP addresses which must be pushed down. We specified an interface. Remember, access list 101. That list was thrown down. We didn't do anything with the interface because that was done automatically. This authorization policy, what we'll do is we'll do this with the normal DVTI SVTI combination we did the last time. Why? Because I want to show you this one concept of route set. There's a concept called route set. This concept we'll be using in both Flex VPNs, spoke to spoke as well as server client. We'll use this one concept. We did not require this here, but I'll show you what one problem we have in here which can be fixed with this IKE v2 authorization policy. And hopefully this will clear if you had any doubts with the authorization policy of EasyVPN. Remember? EasyVPN ISACAP EasyVPN policy, the one which we had. The same thing here, but V2 has some extra additional features which you can provide. Let's create the same tunnel like we did last time. One side dynamic, the other side static, and we'll follow and build on that to do a spoke to spoke later. And that is how you will see how the 3 VPNs, side to side, server client and spoke to spoke, are interlinked with the same specific configuration. You do the same configuration for all of them. You only build on top of that one. Okay, do you see similarities right here? While we are doing this SVTI, there is a similarity, right? This can later act as my hub. Later, just like in EasyVPN I do a hub, right? And in DVTI I have a hub. This can later act as a hub. So I'm already preparing my base with the flexibility of using side to side. Let's move forward and configure this just like we did the other day. But now I'm going to be doing this on my IOU, my rack. So we'll have to put all of them in same VLANs. This guy in one VLAN, this guy in one VLAN, this guy in one VLAN. If you remember how we used to do this, let me just have a quick recap. This is my switch 1, connected to R1, R2, R3, and say R4 here. R2 also has another interface connected from switch 2. But this side, see, he has 3 interfaces coming out. Physically he only has 2. How do we fix this? Sub interfaces. We'll use one of the interfaces, like say this guy right here will be doing some sub interfacing. So we won't use this interface at all because we are doing sub interfaces for this side. We won't use this at all. We'll divide this into 3. One will be connected to R1, one will be connected to R3, one will be connected to R4. Later we'll connect it to R5 also for spoke to spoke. Okay, let's start configuring. Let's remove this. Go where? To my switch. This is my IOU. What are the devices that I'll be using? R1, R2, R3, R4, and only switch 1. I will not require this. So just for the sake of simplicity, I'll move this to one side so I can see at least what my interfaces are. The ones which I don't need, I'll put them aside. For right now, I don't even need router 5. I just need this one switch, R1, R2, R3, and just to see which interfaces do I want. Right? R2, I'll use this one interface only. Everything which is connected to switch 1 will be used. What in the happened? Okay? Everything that is connected to switch 1 will be used. This port, the one which is connected to R2, what do I make it? A trunk. A trunk. So switch 1 E02. Let's go. Switch 1. Enable. Interface Ethernet 02. Switch port trunk encapsulation .1Q. Switch port mode trunk. Right? R2. We'll configure R2 completely first, and then we'll figure out the rest. E00 is pointing towards switch 1. Right? So let's go in there. Conf T interface Ethernet 00. IP address, not IP address. I'll just no shut this. Why? Because I need to sub interface this. So physically it should come up, and then logically I'll create sub interfaces. The first one will be 12, connecting R2 to R1. 12 encapsulation .1Q VLAN, say VLAN 12. He'll be using VLAN 12. right? IP address 192.1.12.2. No need to no shut. Then another one, interface. Now I have connected to R1. I need to connect to R3. R3 from R2. So this should be 2.3. What matters is the .1 queue, 23. So second VLAN is 23. IP address 23.2. Finally, the third one will be 24 with the VLAN of 24. So in total, I'll have 3 VLANs. 24.2. This is the internet router, so I don't need a static route because I only have one guy connected on each end. Okay, done. This guy is perfect. What have I done? I've configured this one end with .1 queue and this side is a trunk. Now I need to configure R1, R3 and R4 and they'll be connected all to R2. What do I put this, which VLAN? 12, this should be 23, this should be 34, 24 because he's connecting to this, right? So E01 is 12. I can bring the other side here, right? Can I? No, how do I do that? I want to bring both together.
Yeah, screen sharing.
Yeah. Okay. So I have both. Now I can check. This is R1, R2, R3, R4. R1 is switch 1. Wow. Oh. This guy?
Yeah.
I did.
To the right, yeah, just
Hit.
Yeah.
Hit.
Top. Hit top first.
Hit the top.
Hit the top.
Yeah. That's good. Switch 1, right? Configure terminal. Interface Ethernet 01. Switch port mode access. Switch port access VLAN 12 does not exist, creating it, which is good. Interface Ethernet 03 R3. Switch port mode access. Switch port access VLAN 23. Similarly 10. Switch port mode access. Switch port access VLAN. My VLAN configuration on the switches are done. Let's go to my routers now. Conf T interface Ethernet, all are 00 because they are pointing towards switch 1. IP address 12.1. No shut. IP route pointing towards the internet 12.2. Good. 192.1.12.1. 12.2. Reachable. R3 enable conf T interface Ethernet 00 IP address 23.3. (23.2) 12.1. R1 is reachable by R3. Good. R4 192.1.24.4. What is my topology? What does it look like? Do you remember? I'll still draw it on the board. It is in the video, but just for reference, I'll keep it here. R2 connected to R1 and R3 plus R4. So forget about the physical topology. Now we are working on this. Our topology is set up exactly like this. Whatever we are doing is in accordance with that diagram. Right? Close this, don't need this anymore. Drag this out. Good. Now we'll do our basic steps that we did the other day. On R1, I'll have to do a DVTI. What do I need? What is the first step that I need for DVTI? I would require IC version 2, IC v2, the different policies for IC version 2. Right? Let's create those policies. What are those policies? Crypto IC v2. I'm sure you're good with it right now. Crypto IC v2, proposal, encryption, not AES 3 dash, group 2, not authentication, integrity, MD5, prop. The other thing is crypto IC v2 policy, pol, proposal, good. Then crypto IC v2 keyring KR, here R3, R. Why? Because this is the server side, right? Address 0000. Then pre-shared key. Either I can do local remote or I can just say Cisco, right? Then crypto IC v2 profile IC prof match identity remote address 23.3 or because this is the server, right? Authentication local pre-shared key, authentication pre-shared, yes, pre-shared, authentication remote is pre-shared, keyring local KR, right? But now remember, this is the hub site, so it's a DVTI. For a DVTI I will also need to include a virtual template 10. Let's copy this first on R1. I misspelled crypto. Okay, everything is okay. Now for my virtual template, what is the IP address I use? I need a loopback for that. I will require a loopback for that. So interface, do that on the notepad. Step 2 is interface loopback 11 IP address on the 1. Okay, then step 3 interface virtual 10, don't forget the type tunnel, IP unnumbered, loopback, tunnel source is 12.1, tunnel mode is IPsec IP, tunnel protection. I have not created the profile yet. Right? I need to create it first. So crypto IPsec transform set tset ESP 3 des ESP MD5 crypto IPsec profile. Why the profile? iprof set transform set tset set IC v2 profile IC prof.
So the tunnel protection command will not work unless this step.
It's not, yes. So the tunnel will be down because it's a mode IPsec IPv4. It requires that protection. So what we'll do is we'll copy this and do it here. But it doesn't really matter because both of the things come up very quickly. The time it takes to paste, it's alright. That is the time it takes to look it up. Right? Done? Anything else? I will also need a loop back for, but that I'll do later. So copy and paste. Done? It's up. Interface loop back 0. I didn't create this. And then I will also run router EIGRP 10. No auto. Show IP interface brief. I have a virtual template 10, which is protocol is down. It will always stay down. Why? Because the virtual access which comes out of it, that will be the one which will be up. The same thing I need to do where? On the other side, but what is the difference? This same keyring address will be 12.1. Remote address will be virtual template. Do I need? Do I need the loop back? Let's do one thing. Let's keep it here. SVTI. Make the changes here. Right? So let's get going here. This I don't need. Virtual template I do not need. Loop back address I do not need. Transform set I need. Profile I need. Both of these things. Virtual template. Instead of virtual template, what is the thing that I need? A straight tunnel directly to my IP address 1.2. Source will be 23.3. Destination will be 12.1. Tunnel mode this, tunnel protection this. Good. Copy all this until here. Take him where? R3. R3. R2 is the internet. Oops. Copy and paste. Check everything is okay. It's up. Nice campus. Show IP interface brief. It's up. This is the one which I want to show you. Check your show IP route right now. What do you have?
Static.
I do not have a static. I don't have anything. That is a one. No, this was I did it before for the internet. I do not have anything. That means show IP route. It's working. If I share my routing from the other side, it will work. But check this out. Does he know where 192.168.1.2 is right now? He will not be able to ping. Why? It's not about EIGRP. He has a tunnel connected already. See, this is a loop back he has, right? It's connected to him. There is another side which has 192.168.1.2, which should be through virtual access this guy.
Yes.
But the problem is he does not exactly know what the other endpoint of the tunnel is. Right now he doesn't know that. Remember DMVPN?
Yes.
How did he know the other endpoint? By the NHRP mapping. He knows the public address of the other end. That he knows. But he does not know the internal other endpoint of this tunnel. But when I do my EIGRPs, check this out. When I do it here, 100? 10. Network. When I do this, the tunnel endpoint is not advertised, but what he'll get is, he did not get anything because I have not created a loop back here. What he'll get is, he'll get 10.3, but through virtual access 1. He still does not know where this guy is.
Yes.
If you ping him, he does not know. Why does he know 192? Because this is the neighbor that he formed using the hello packet. He does not know the exact destination of 1.2 is behind this. Why? Because tomorrow he'll have another tunnel. That'll be 1.3. he will not know if 1.2 is through virtual access 2 or virtual access 3. This is what I want you to know before we start our spoke to spoke. I want to explain to you this one topic of route set interface. IKE v2 has a mechanism where if you don't have your routing protocols running, no router EIGRP10, even on R1, no router EIGRP10. There is no routing protocols running. Goodbye received.
So this is like you can say network extension.
Network extension mode. We are doing, see, you incorporate everything else together.
You are able to pin the behind network.
Behind, yes. But now you will understand what exactly happened at that point. We'll do it step by step and you'll understand exactly what that authorization policy did. What I'll do right now, check this out. I have the tunnel up on the other side. But nothing, I don't know anything about that tunnel. There is no routing, there is nothing. Only this tunnel is up and he knows that I have a tunnel 0, which is my endpoint is 1.2. He cannot ping him. Why? Because he does not know his source. He does not know where 1.2 is. So what we can do is we can play with the authorization policy of whom? Of IKE v2. You know the authorization policy which ISACAMP had? We'll play around with that and see what else can be included in this. How? What is the first step?
AAA new model.
AAA
New model.
AAA new model. Then remember this
Authorization
network. For the authorization, I have not bound this anywhere. I'm just pointing to a network authorization list called Munib, which will point to local. I have not bound it anywhere yet. I'm just pointing to local right now. Okay, where I change my policy is this crypto IKE v2 authorization policy. I can call it IKE POL. IKE POL. This is where I can do the other stuff. Let's check what we can do. Let's go to the router R1 authorization policy. I can do a lot of stuff. I can do a lot of stuff like DHCP, DNS, IPv, the pool. Remember this?
Yes.
Remember this? Right now, what I want you to explain, I want to explain to you guys what this route means. I can do route set. I have two options for route set. First, I'll do interface, and I'll teach you what it actually does. Route set, interface, and I'll exit. I will also say route accept any, whatever you accept from this tunnel. I want to tag it with a number. Remember tagging? Have you done tagging in BGP?
Yes.
You can add a tag to any route that you receive from the other side. I'm saying whatever you receive from this policy, through this policy, you add a tag to tag of, say, because he's coming from 3, so I'll add a tag of, say, 333. It's just a tag, basically measuring all of these routes, saying these came from the tunnel. Right? This is done. I have not bound this anywhere. I have just created this policy. I've just created this policy. I have not bound it anywhere. This is basically saying that for your policy, look local. What is the local? This is the local. Remember, there also we used to do the same thing. A authorization network Munib local. Then we used to have the local was crypto group configuration. There you used to set the pool and all the other kind of stuff. This is the same thing here. This is pointing locally to whom? To this authorization policy, which says route set interface or route accept any, but tag it with 333. Good. I need to call it. Remember where did I used to call the previous policy? In EasyVPN? ISACAM profile. I used to say a authorization list and all of the other stuff. Same thing here. I'll go to which policy? My IKE v2 profile. Crypto IKE v2 profile IKE prof. Now this command, I have set up everything here, right? I forgot to do this. Right? Remember?
IP authorization list.
Not, we had authorization list before. Here, this command is a little complicated, but if you have a look at it, I'll explain each keyword. So listen to it carefully. We have AA authorization. This you know. Then we have two options, group and user. User keyword you will use when you're using user authentication using a AAA server using EAP protocol. I'm not doing that right now. I'm doing it based on my local policy. And you remember local, earlier also we used to do that group configuration.
Yes.
That is what local group means. So I'm not using this user policy, I'm using group. The default is user. The default policy is user, but I am using group. Then, question mark. What kind of method am I using for my authentication? Between the pair, PSK. Right? I'm not using EAP, I'm not using cert. There's also one more keyword which says override. I told you what is the default? User. If you want to override, means if you use this command, no one will be able to use user for this profile. But that's okay because I've already chosen group. I can also say override, which means override everything. Only use group. Only use group. But I'm not going to use it anymore. I'm just writing group right now. Group, and what is the list I'm using? What is the pre-shared key? PSK. Then he says, okay, what is your authorization list? What is your authorization list? My list is only. But he also says username. This username, see, first is pointing to what list? List says local. Then he also asks you to point him to the authorization policy that you configured on your device. What is the name of that? IKE. IKE. Let's do this on the notepad and we can see what we did. This I did. Then I go to my IKE v2 profile, IKE prof, and I said AA authorization group PSK list. Then list was pointing towards my local database. So I'm using the list Munib. This is what we used to do in ISACAM. But here you have additional features where you can also point to the policy that is linked to this. So you link both of them here. Say IKE. If you understand this part, 60% of your Flex VPN is done, because this is where people get confused. Why do we use these commands? Do you understand this?
Can you explain it?
This one?
Explain it again, please.
Again.
From route set interface.
From route set. We'll start from here. Right now, I have configured. What have I done? Let's go here. Epic pen is epically lost. Right? What have I done? I have done R1, right? Connected to this, connected to R3. Okay. Here I have created a DVTI, and a virtual access was created between them. This side of the virtual access is 1.2. This side is 1.1. Okay. Well, this is virtual access 1. What am I doing right now is, this is a normal ISACAM policy which negotiated everything else. It's a normal ISACAM policy, IKE v2 basically policy, right? So in that IKE v2 policy, there is no route set interface or nothing like that. So when this side of the tunnel came up, The source was this public address, the destination was this public address, and this side of the interface was 192.168.1.2. Okay, the problem is this side does not know what is the other endpoint. He knows there is a tunnel, he knows the public IP and public source and destination IP. He does not know what is the endpoint on the other side. That is my problem right now. Although if I run routing protocols, hello packets will be sent from here, hello packets will be sent from here. A neighbor relationship will be formed based on that hello packet, the source of that hello packet and destination of that hello packet. So whatever is advertised inside this will be shared. So that will go through the tunnel. But he still wouldn't know what is the endpoint here. Okay? This, what I'm doing right now, right here. What I'm doing right now is I'm creating the first, this part. This part is the same with ICV2. ICAM, sorry, crypto. What I'm saying is the authorization of this network, all my ICV2 policies that will be sent, I'll do all of them locally. Right now, until now, I was not doing it. So he was choosing the default configuration for ICV2, which is normal. Just explain these policies, exchange these policies, and create a tunnel. But I want to edit those policies now. I want to add some extra features to that policy, which the ICV2 default policy that you have. So I'm saying that that addition, that changes that I'm going to make to the policy, I'm not doing it on a radius server, but I'm doing it locally. I'm changing my policy locally. Right? Then I go and start configuring this policy. Now here I chose a name. So I'm creating a second policy. The first one is called the default policy. You can actually see it. Authorization policy. This is your default policy with accept any and accept any. This is your IC policy, the one which I set. Where did I send it? Using this, a new one. I created it. Here I said route side interface, and I also said whatever you receive, whatever you're going to receive from this interface, tag it with this. Tag it with this. Now this exchange will happen in that IC exchanges that take place between the two. This will not be after the tunnel is created. This will be done when the tunnel is being created. Between that init and auth, those 4 packets, this is when it will be exchanged. Okay?
So can you repeat it again about that
Route tag. Route tag means whatever you receive from the other side. There is an options field on the routes which are received. You can actually tag them. All the routes that receive will have that one tag. I will show you physically. When we do it, I'll show you that tag inside the routes.
So what will be the
Which are
benefit of it?
What is the benefit of the routes? Once you have the tags of tagging, what routes are coming through the tunnel to that router, then you can apply specific policies to it. Why? Because they will all be tagged.
Based on that.
You can redistribute them into a specific protocol, and everyone will know that these routes came from the tunnel.
Something that assists BGP.
Just like BGP. We do it in BGP also. They'll have that extra CCI certificate with them that these guys are non-normal, they have come from a secured channel. And then you can apply policies based on those secured channels. That is tagging. Right? Why I did this, I just wanted to show you how we can edit the policy, the ICAM policy, ICV2 policy. Okay? Here I'm just calling it. This is just used for calling it inside this. Because if I don't call it here, he will use the default policy, which does not have any tagging. So I'm using this policy to call it. What does it say? AA authorization. Do it based on group. The other option is user is used when I'm using a AAA server. I'm not using it anymore. I'm only using it based on the local group policy. This policy is called a group policy. So I'm saying authorization will be group based.
So, but you can create a
You can create a set of users, then it'll be applied user based.
Even then, okay.
That will be, because that time he'll go always to the AA server and then ask him for the policies. He will give him the policies based on usernames.
So it will become user.
That at that time it'll be user.
It's kind of.
It's intermingled.
contradicting.
Yeah.
It's kind of contradicting.
Here it's not, because this is group based, right?
Okay.
Group based means everyone, for everyone who's creating a tunnel with. User based will be, say for Munib I'll have different policies. For someone else I'll have different policies. And those will be directed by whom? By the AAA server. Okay. Next is PSK. What is the method I'm using to communicate to the other side? PSK. The list. List, why? Because I have to specify, am I doing it locally or am I doing it on the AAA server? So I'm pointing him to this list which says local, not radius, local. And then I have to bind, because as I said, not only one policy will be there. You can create a lot of crypto authorization policies. One is the default. I showed you two just now. One is the default. The other one you just created, this one. You can have another one for some other tunnel. So you have to bind which one is for this IKE profile.
Yes.
By binding this to this.
After Munib, what option does it show?
Username. After Munib, he shows you that option of username. AA username. AAA username. But what basically he means is, what is the policy name? He calls it username of the AAA.
So what does that command equal? Route set interface?
Route set interface, I'll show you when we configure it. I'll show you the difference. This is the difference that will be between the two sides. I'll show you. Until now, the one guy did not know what is the other side.
Yes.
Right? But when we do this, I'll show you how it shows. What it actually does. Okay? Let me do this on the other side also. Same thing, same thing, same thing. From the other side, I'll tag him as 111. And call him in the same policy, because the policy name is also the same on the other side. Did I copy it here? Yeah, this is done, right? On R1. Clear crypto session. Change to down. Is it up? Show crypto IKV2. It's ready, right? Copy the same thing on the other side. Excuse me, it's from home. Hello? अस्सलाम वालेकुम. हाँ जी, हाँ बोलो. मैं क्लास में हूँ. अच्छा, इसका फ़ोन का उसका. हाँ, एक मिनट होल्ड करो आप, मैं बोलता हूँ. एक मिनट. हाँ, we do the same thing on R3. Same thing, nothing changes, only the tag changes. One. Okay. Clear crypto session. First, let's shut it down and bring it back up. Okay. Right? Check this out. How did this come? This is what route set interface does. Route set interface means this side, when they are doing the negotiations, and the ISACM policies are being, IKV2 policies are being changed, what he does is, he tells him, hey listen, my interface is going to be 192.168.1.2. Please install a static route on your side towards me. Do you recall something from here? Where did this come into play? Easy VPN. Easy VPN virtual templates does it by default, remember? A static route was already created dynamically where? From the server side towards it, client. Right? Here you have to do it manually. You have to tell him, hey listen, route set interface means he tells him, listen, I have this interface, I want to set it on this side. Please insert a static route for this interface on your side. So he inserted. Now the difference is he can ping him. Who R1. Good. It's not only an interface that you can set. Check this out. I have not run any routing, right? I'll create an access list 10 permit 10.0.0.0, or better be specific. On R1, I'll do the same on R3, but not yet. What I'll do is I'll open the same policy which I just created. I'll modify the same policy, this IKE pol, but instead of route set interface, I'll set route set access list. So what am I basically telling him? I'm telling him interface is there. I'm also telling him. So he will tell the other guy, insert which static route? 10.1.1.1 into. Just like NEM. Remember NEM? Network extension mode. But now we are doing this manually. He'll go to the other guy and tell him insert this. Clear crypto session. Down. Clear sessions. Yeah, because one session he has to exchange the IKE init and IKE auth again. Because the tunnel is already created. He has to redo the tunnel again because the new policies are being sent now.
But in real time, do we prefer this or the routing?
In different scenarios, different conditions, and different types you apply it. This you usually generally don't use it for this. This I'm teaching you only because in Flex we'll use this, and that time you'll understand what this route set interface does. At that time.
But when the keep alive is set, aren't the new policies
With the keep alive, only if the tunnel is torn down. If the tunnel is torn down and brought back up again, then the new policies like this are sent. Check this out. And because I said route set interface and I said route set that access list. So now he can reach, but he cannot reach it with the source because I have not set an access list from this side going to the other side. Do you understand this? Yes? You understand what this route set does? Basically tells the other guy, hey listen, I'm gonna have this, right? This is inside, please insert a static route and go through this virtual interface for this static route. I can do this both ways, routing also as well as this. But this will be using when we're doing the Easy VPN as well as server hub. Because at that time, I will have a pool on the other side and I will need a static route for that pool. The one which I insert on the other side. Is this clear? Any questions until now? No questions? Having said this, when you're doing DMVPN, which we are going to do next, when we are doing DMVPN, it does not work well with NHRP unless this right here is and this right here is also NHRP with 15.2 does not work properly unless you do this to default policies. You don't create new policies, you do it to the default IKV2 policy. So what do we have here then? What do we insert here? Default and This is where people start banging their heads. This default. What is this default?
So
But now you know.
Saying the console 0 default into
Which one?
where when you put the default command,
It goes to all of them exactly the same way. When you do AA authentication default, it is applied to all the lists. Here, when you do it to default, it is applied to all the authorization policies. But that is what NHRP demands. It should work. I'm not saying it should not work. There's a bug that it doesn't work. It's a bug in the iOSs that it doesn't work because IKV2 is relatively very new. Not a lot of research has still been done on it. It's still testing. It's a new code completely for 15.2. So there are still some bugs and it's going through those bugs. This is one of them. But if you use default, it works perfectly. Having said that, if you do it on GNS, one of the commands which does spoke to spoke does not work. I'll show you which one that is. So it's better to do it on the IOU. Okay. Until now, what we're doing, this will all work on the
GNS.
on your GNS. I showed you everything. I forgot to show you what the tag. Show IP route. Check this route which came from the other side. 192.168.1.2. Route tag is 333. This tagging won't be with anything else. Check anything else. Say my connected loop app. There is no tag. There is no tag to anything because I have not added it. When you add a tag, then it shows you that tag. It's like an identification. Now these routes have all the routes which come through that tunnel will have that identification that this belongs to this tunnel, and now he'll move forward like that. Okay, this is your again SVTI DVTI now with route set interface command. What does the command do? Now we'll move forward and do our spoke to spoke DMVPN. Okay, let's create a new video for that.